In a small room in my shirt, morning crossed the paper walls. Golden dust lay on the leather. Winter leaned against the glass. An old bookbinder sat working, threading pages one by one, while the sound of distant footsteps rose and faded with the sun. He said, every page grows fragile, every cover bears a trace, but the hands that hold a story leave their warmth in every place. Bind the scattered pages slowly, let the broken edges meet. Somewhere underneath the silence, every loss remains complete. Bind the scattered pages slowly, though the final words are gone. What we could not keep together still survives in what lives on. Table lay a volume wrapped in faded crimson thread. Pressed between two numbered pages was a rose no longer red. Near the stem a line was written in the hand I used to know. Meet me when the spring is over, where the white-winged swallows go. No year remained beside the sentence, no address and no reply. Only ink that leaned and trembled like a bird preparing to fly. Bind the scattered pages slowly, let the broken edges meet. Somewhere underneath the silence, every loss remains complete. The scattered pages slowly, though the final words are gone. What we could not keep together still survives in what lives on. pages hold me as the evening fills the room. Still the rose remains between them, holding neither spring nor bloom. Now the scattered pages hold me, but I do not turn away. I close the book without an answer and return it where it lay. Morning rose above Boucher, white walls glowing in the heat. Salt was drying on the windows, sand was moving through the street. By the harbor stood a doorway, painted blue and warm with time. You had waited there each summer, with your shadow next to mine. Every boat returned with stories, every sail carried the sun. But the road beyond that doorway was the one you chose to run. By the blue door in Boucher, I still hear the harbor breathe. Every wave against the seawall brings back something you would leave. By the blue door in Boucher, where the evening turns to gold, I still touch the fading paintwork like a hand I used to hold. Dates were hanging from the market, boats were resting in the bay. An old record from a cafe played the songs of yesterday. On the table near the doorway lay the key you used to keep. Rust had gathered on the edges, still I carried it for weeks. I had thought the lock would open if I waited long enough, but some doors remain behind us even when we keep their keys. By the blue door in Boucher, I still hear the harbor breathe. Every wave against the seawall brings back something you would leave. By the blue door in Boucher, where the evening turns to gold, I still touch the fading paintwork like a hand I used to hold. Maybe every door remembers every person passing through. Maybe wood can hold the pressure of the hands that once it knew. I placed the key upon the doorstep as the tide began to rise. Then the wind moved through the alley, and the salt reached both my eyes. released my mind. Evening crossed the plain of shadow, turning every ridge to gold. Camels moved between the shadows, while the desert air grew cold. One small bell beneath your saddle kept a rhythm through the sand. I was riding close behind you, with the map held in my hand. You said stars were better guides than any line a stranger drew, but the wind erased our footsteps and the darkness covered you. I still hear the caravan bell somewhere past the desert stone, moving softly through the distance on a road I've never known. I still hear the caravan bell when the night is wide and clear. Every note becomes a question, every silence brings you near. The camp beyond the salt flats, lanterns trembled in the wind. Traders gathered near the fire while the cold night settled in. Your red scarf was on the saddle, dust had gathered in its fold, but the horse returned without you before morning touched the road. We searched until the sun was rising, through the valleys, through the plain, but the dunes kept changing places and the wind concealed your name. I still hear the caravan bell somewhere past the desert stone, moving softly through the distance on a road I've never known. I still hear the caravan bell when the night is wide and clear. Every note becomes a question, every silence brings you near. Years later, near the same road, I discovered in the sand one small piece of tarnished silver, shaped and polished by your hand. It had once hung from the bridle of the horse that carried you. When I lifted it, the silence rang as clearly as the truth. when the first light crosses shot at, and the distant sound is gone.
Past midnight in old Tehran, one red signal stayed alight. Dust was resting on the consoles while the city slept outside. An engineer turned every dial, searching through the waves of sound. Static filled the empty studio, then a distant voice was found. It was faint beneath the noise, like a room behind a wall. Still he knew the breath between the words. He remembered it all. Through the midnight radio, your voice returned to me, drifting through a broken signal from a year that used to be. Through the midnight radio, every word arrived too slow, but I stayed beside the speaker, afraid to let the silence grow. You were singing an old melody recorded years before, back when summer filled the windows and your coat hung by the door. Behind your voice a glass was moving, someone laughed beyond the room. Then the tape bent for a moment and the music lost its tune. I leaned closer to the speaker as the signal slipped away, trying to hold one final sentence that the static would not say. Through the midnight radio, your voice returned to me, drifting through a broken signal from a year that used to be. Through the midnight radio, every word arrived too slow, but I stayed beside the speaker, afraid to let the silence grow. Keeps traveling long after songs are done, passing over roofs and mountains, waiting to be heard by someone. I could save the fading recording, I could play it every night, but a memory played too often slowly loses all its light. palace windows, splitting into threads of light. Thousands of mirrored fragments held the fading colors bright. A caretaker moved through the hallways with a cloth beneath his hand, cleaning years from every surface no one living could command. He said every piece reflected only what it faced that day. Still a room can keep an image long after it walks away. In the mirror hall of Golestan, every wall returned your face. Not the way I last remembered, but from every time and place. In the mirror hall of Golestan, I stood multiplied and still, while 100 versions of me watched you walking toward the hill. Near a cabinet of letters lay a photograph in gray. You were standing by a fountain on an early autumn day. One hand rested on your collar, one eye narrowed in the sun. On the back a date was written, but the final word had run. I turned slowly toward the mirrors, held the photograph upright, and the room repeated you across 1,000 points of light. In the mirror hall of Golestan, every wall returned your face. Not the way I last remembered, but from every time and place. In the mirror hall of Golestan, I stood multiplied and still, while 100 versions of me watched you walking toward the hill. Could reveal what had been true, but a mirror gives no answers. It returns the search to you. So I placed the faded picture where the morning reached the floor, and your image broke in silver into shapes I knew no more. In the mirror hall of Golestan, I no longer saw your face, only light across the ceiling, moving freely through the space. In
sun reached Khorasan, workers crossed the sleeping land. Purple flowers filled the valley, red threads gathered in each hand. Cold mist rested on the baskets, morning clung to every sleeve. You were tying back your dark hair on the day you chose to leave. You said harvest comes in silence before daylight warms the ground. Some things bloom for only moments, then are nowhere to be found. In the red fields of Khorasan, I still see you in the dawn, moving softly through the flowers before the morning light was born. In the red fields of Khorasan, every thread was thin and bright, like the words we nearly whispered before you vanished from my sight. Years later, in a wooden chest beneath a faded winter shawl, I discovered your white handkerchief pressed against the cedar wall. In one corner, red embroidery curved like branches in the rain, and the fragrance of the saffron brought the valley back again. I unfolded every corner, though the cloth had worn so thin. Somewhere in those careful stitches, our unfinished years remained. In the red fields of Khorasan, I still see you in the dawn, moving softly through the flowers before the morning light was born. In the red fields of Khorasan, every thread was thin and bright, like the words we nearly whispered before you vanished from my sight. Maybe every hand leaves traces in the cloth and in the soil. Maybe love survives in patterns shaped by patience, time, and toil. I had kept your final message hidden deeper than the thread, but the field outside was waking, and the eastern sky turned red. Morning opened warm and clear. I no longer search the flowers for the shape of someone near. In the Clouds came down on Masule, covering the mountainside. Copper rain ran from the rooftops, through the alleys, narrow and wide. I was walking above the houses, where one rooftop meets the next, carrying the woolen coat you had forgotten when you left. Smoke was rising from the chimneys, market bells rang down below. Every stairway climbed through weather to a place I used to know. On the rooftops of Masule, I could see the valley turn green beneath the drifting weather, while the chestnut fires still burn. On the rooftops of Masule, I kept your coat against the cold, but the road climbed past the village toward a story never told. At the doorway of the baker, warm bread rested by the flame. An old woman saw the coat and quietly recalled your name. She said you crossed the upper pathway before the winter closed the past, carrying nothing but a small bag and a mirror made of glass. I had searched the lower valleys, I had waited near the square, never knowing that your footsteps had been climbing through the air. On the rooftops of Masule, I could see the valley turn green beneath the drifting weather, while the chestnut fires still burn. On the rooftops of Masule, I kept your coat against the cold, but the road climbed past the village toward a story never told. Near the highest row of houses, I discovered one small thread caught between the wooden railing, bright against the weathered red. It was taken from the lining of the coat I held so tight, like a mark you left to tell me you had climbed this way that night. On the rooftops of Masule, morning opened through the grate. I laid your coat upon the railing and allowed the wind its way. On the rooftops of Masule, I watched the fabric rise
it all.
Morning opened over Keshem, pale and silver on the bay. Wooden boats leaned toward the water, waiting for the turning day. Salt had gathered on the windows, ropes lay coiled beside the shore. On the deck of one old lenge boat, I found the coat you wore. Every sail had caught a distance, every mast had known the rain. Still the sea returned no answer, only brought the wind again. When the salt wind crossed Keshem, it moved softly through the mast, like a voice above the water, calling something from the past. When the salt wind crossed Keshem, every rope began to sway, but the boat remained beside me, and the tide pulled out the day. Through the mangroves, narrow channels held the shadows of the birds. Fishermen spoke low behind me, but I could not hear their words. Near the cabin, scratched in timber, was the date we sailed before, when you promised after winter you would meet me at the shore. Seasons changed the painted letters, sunlight faded every line. Still my fingers knew the carving, as though your hand rested in mine. When the salt wind crossed Keshem, it moved softly through the mast, like a voice above the water,
believe the sea remembered every traveler it had known, every name beneath the water, every heart that sailed alone. But the sea keeps only motion, never asking who has gone. It receives the darkest evening, then returns the light at dawn. I untied the weathered line, let the old boat meet the current, let the open sea decide. When the first light crossed the Keshem, I left your coat upon the rail, then the salt wind filled the canvas, and the morning raised the sail. In a quiet room in Tabriz, wooden pieces filled the board. Rain pressed gently on the windows. No one spoke a single word. You were seated by the heater, turning one black rook around, while the steam above our glasses rose and vanished without sound. You studied every open square, as though one move could explain why two people sitting placely could still feel so far away. We left the final game unfinished, White King waiting near the line, your hand resting on the table, only inches short of mine. We left the final game unfinished, no defeat and no release. You moved slowly toward the doorway and abandoned every piece. Years went by before I entered that old room above the square. Different faces filled the tables, but our board was still kept there. One black rook beside the window, one white bishop on its side, and beneath the faded tablecloth
replaced the pieces where they'd been. He said, some games are never ended, they are only left unseen. We left the final game unfinished, White King waiting near the line, your hand resting on the table, only inches short of mine. We left the final game unfinished, no defeat and no release. You moved slowly toward the doorway and abandoned every piece. I once believed I could have won you with the perfect words and time, but love was never calculation, and the heart obeyed no line. So I placed the rook beside me where your hand had left it last. Then I moved the waiting bishop and released us from the past. Now the final game is over, though no winner took the room. Morning spread across the table, and the rain began to move. Now the final game is over, every piece returned in place. I left your black rook by the window and walked calmly from the game. Before the heat reached bed, we descended through the storm with a lantern between us, down a path the earth had known. My father touched the narrow walls where the water traveled deep. He said, listen to his footsteps, there are promises we keep. Every drop had crossed the darkness, no one standing there could see. Still it reached the waiting gardens, still it found the roots and trees. There is water beneath Conabad, moving where no sunlight goes, through the silence of the mountain to the fields where saffron grows. There is water beneath Conabad, older than the names we bear. What the hands before us carried still is flowing everywhere.
lantern in my hand. Dust gathered on the pathway. Summer rested on the land. At the bottom of the stairway, I could hear the current run, like the voice I still remembered, speaking softly to the sun. He had taught me how to measure every shadow, rope and line, how a patient hand could guide what was hidden through the night. There is water beneath, gonna bite, moving when no sunlight goes through the silence of the mountain to the fields where saffron grows. There is water beneath, gonna bite, older than the names we bear. What the hands before us carried still is flowing everywhere. I once thought that what was buried had been taken from the day, but the deepest things keep moving, though we cannot see their way. So I placed his weathered lantern in the hollow by the wall, and the water held its rhythm as the shadows covered all. There is water beneath, gonna bite, and I hear it as I climb, carrying the quiet labor of another hand and time. There is water beneath, gonna bite, running farther than we know. What the ones before us started, through the ones who follow flows. Morning rose above bushes, white walls glowing in the heat. Salt was drying on the windows, sand was moving through the street. By the harbor stood a doorway, painted blue and worn with time. You had waited there each summer, with your shadow next to mine. Every boat returned with stories, every sail carried the sun. But the road beyond that doorway was the one you chose to run. By the blue door in Busher, I still hear the harbor breathe. Every wave against the seawall brings back something you would leave. By the blue door in Busher, where the evening turns to gold, I still touch the table near the doorway lay the key you used to keep. Rust had gathered on the edges, still I carried it for weeks. I had thought the lock would open if I waited long enough, but some doors remain behind us even when we keep their keys. By the blue door in Busher, I still hear the harbor breathe. Every wave against the seawall brings back something you would leave. By the blue door in Busher, where the evening turns to gold, I still touch the fading paintwork like a hand I used to hold. Maybe every door remembers every person passing through. Maybe wood can hold the pressure of the hands that once it knew. I placed the key upon the doorstep as the tide began to rise. Then the wind moved through the alley and the salt reached both my eyes. By the blue door in Busher, morning opened on the sea. For the first time that old doorway did not feel like home to me. By the blue door in Busher, I left the rusted key behind. Then the boats moved toward the sunlight, and the shore released my mind. Past midnight in old Tehran, one red signal stayed alight. Dust was resting on the consoles while the city slept outside. An engineer turned every dial, searching through the waves of sound. Static filled the empty studio. Then a distant voice was found. It was faint beneath the noise, like a room behind a wall. Still he knew the breath between the words. He remembered it all. Through the midnight radio, your voice returned to me, drifting
drifting through a broken signal from a year that used to be. Through the midnight radio, every word arrived too slow, but I stayed beside the speaker, afraid to let the silence grow. You were singing an old melody, recorded years before, back when summer filled the windows and your coat hung by the door. Behind your voice a glass was moving, someone laughed beyond the room. Then the tape bent for a moment and the music lost its tune. I leaned closer to the speaker as the signal slipped away, trying to hold one final sentence that the static would not say. Through the midnight radio, your voice returned to me, drifting through a broken signal from a year that used to be. Through the midnight radio, every word arrived too slow, but I stayed beside the speaker, afraid to let the silence grow. Maybe every voice keeps traveling long after songs are done, passing over roofs and mountains, waiting to be heard by someone. I could save the fading recording, I could play it every night, but a memory played too often slowly loses all its life. Downward and let morning cross the line. Before the sun reached Khorasan, workers crossed the sleeping land. Purple flowers fill the valley, red threads gathered in each hand. Cold mist rested on the baskets, morning clung to every sleeve. You were tying back your dark hair on the day you chose to leave. You said harvest comes in silence, before daylight warms the ground. Some things bloom for only moments, then are nowhere to be found. In the red fields of Khorasan, I still see you in the dawn, moving softly through the flowers before the morning light was born. In the red fields of Khorasan, every thread was thin and bright, like the words we nearly whispered before you vanished from my sight. Years later, in a wooden chest, beneath a faded winter shawl, I discovered your white handkerchief pressed against the cedar wall. In one corner, red embroidery curved like branches in the rain, and the fragrance of the saffron brought the valley back again. I unfolded every corner, though the cloth had worn so thin. Somewhere in those careful stitches our unfinished years remained. In the red fields of Khorasan, I still see you in the dawn, moving softly through the flowers before the morning light was born. In the red fields of Khorasan, every thread was thin and bright, like the words we nearly whispered before you vanished from my sight. Maybe every hand leaves traces in the cloth and in the soil. Maybe love survives in patterns shaped by patience, time, and toil. I had kept your final message hidden deeper than the thread, but the field outside was waking, and the eastern sky turned red. In the red fields of Khorasan, morning opened warm and clear. I no longer search the flowers for the shape of someone near. In the red fields of Khorasan,